first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate that. So being in Singapore the first time, which is amazingly 1 degree north of the equator, and I've never given a talk about stars where you can look both south and north. That's a privilege you have here. So I have been an electrical engineer for nearly all my life, and I gave up a job a few months ago to devote myself to something I really enjoy. Not that I didn't enjoy my electrical engineering career, but we only live once and there's so much to explore. So let's see how this works. Oh, it does work, good. Now, one too far, there we go. That's what I wanted to show you. This is very interesting. We were talking about Australia, and I love going to Australia. Why do I love going to Australia? Because the southern sky is incredibly beautiful. It is something, I mean, a lot of people who deal with astronomy and night photography actually are in North America. However, if you come to the south, that includes Chile, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, of course, and so on, you can experience the night sky in a completely different way. And that's what I realized in the beginning of this year. I went to Australia to really take a look at the night sky. I went out with a camper van in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by kangaroos at night. It's quite an amazing experience. And the Milky Way is so bright that on the one picture you see the moon, but the Milky Way is so exceptionally bright that you can do selfies just with the illumination of the Milky Way. That's quite considerable. Because most of us, especially our children, have never seen the Milky Way. They've seen it on TV, BBC shows, and so on, but they've never actually been able to experience it live. So my idea was then, how do I, in the middle of nowhere, transform this and make this into a dialogue with my audience? And I mean a dialogue. We are moving very much away from the traditional way of looking at television, which is a one-way traffic, into a dialogue, and that is using YouTube and other methods where we can interact with the, with the viewer, who can participate and say, hey, Christian, that's great, show me what's going on up there, and I can change the view, and this really is exciting. And how did I do this? It's very simple. I took the smartphone and built an adapter. And we've just seen a few of these cameras here. I've just seen the Nikon 750, for example. They are becoming so incredibly sensitive. If you know something about ISO, you can go up to 100,000, 500,000 ISOs nowadays, and you can actually, if you have a proper lens, you can see the Milky Way live. It's absolutely exceptional. And you can actually press the button for 1 second and you will see millions of stars on your camera, but you won't see them on your smartphone. So what I did is I'm using the smartphone there as a transmitter, because it has all the smart devices, coupled it to the back of my camera, and the smartphone is actually looking at the LCD screen of the camera. The resolution is so good that you can digitally really zoom in beautifully, and you can show all the details out there. Of course, you can do this with a computer too, but you have to imagine you're out in the field. It's very rugged, it's very dark, and you have to build some simple devices. And this device has actually absolutely been incredible, because I can use it for wildlife too. For example, when I'm in Vancouver, I can show eagles at a distance of 200-300 meters, and I can virtually resolve the eye from that distance. And that makes it very exciting. In fact, it was so funny, because I have all these wildlife photographers around me, and eventually they were all coming and staring at my smartphone. So it just shows where things are going. And that's just a view, in Australia. I've just taken this a few days ago, because I actually come from Australia. How incredibly visible the Milky Way is. It's beautiful. It's taken with a 70mm lens, and you can see it looks really like stormy weather. And that is so mind-blowing when people see that live. The live experience is so important nowadays. They need to see it live. They don't want to see something that you produced on YouTube and then reprocessed, edited, and so on. They want to see this live experience, and you can share the live experience. Something like this becomes reality within a few seconds for the viewer. There we go. Now it gets even more interesting, because that's your camera, but nowadays we have access to remote telescopes. Nowadays, you don't have to own complex systems. You can actually you can actually control telescopes remotely with your phone. You can sit in the plane and do that. And this is iTelescope, for example, that is in Siding Spring, and they have a huge roof that opens at night, and then you have you can see the universe in your living room. And that's a view of what it looks like. And what I did is I put my camera in the middle of that a few days ago, and then I took the night sky, what it looks like, and that's what it looks like. I can start this. Yeah, there you go. So this is one night, and you should be able to see how beautiful the Milky Way moves. You see all the telescopes moving there, and then you'll see the roof close in the morning. So that's one night and 30 seconds. And that's it, that's the roof closed, and there's me opening the door. That's it. So that's one night. And now I come to the interesting topic of star trails. I mean, you've probably seen these images of star trails. What are star trails? Star trails are a result because the Earth spins, okay? Because the Earth spins around this axis, and you just hold the camera up there, you will see movement. You see the movement with the sun during the day, you see the movement at night, of course. And if you hold it towards the Earth's pole, and we have two poles, the North Pole and the South Pole, you will get resulting star trails. It's something that's very well known, and it's beautifully used. If you do the same in the Southern Hemisphere, you get exactly the same, of course. But I was looking at the Milky Way, and I said, oh my goodness, that's terrible. The star trails, if I superimpose all these images, they just look out like round circles now around the South Pole, and the beauty is actually gone. What a pity. So I started looking at my simulation again at what happens if it moves every 1 hour. And you can actually see there's a beautiful movement of the Milky Way, and it seems to be lost in these star trails. So I thought, well, let's take another look. What happens if you superimpose all of these movements? And suddenly an incredible fractal pattern arises. And it's quite amazing because you can see, if you look carefully, you can see right at the center, I'll get this later, that's the South Pole. Everything's rotating, and it sort of becomes a beautiful fractal pattern around the South Pole. And by the superposition, you suddenly, the whole night sky just changes, and that's the whole night. What you see there is the night sky taken every 60 minutes. So bang, bang, 60 minutes, it's moving, okay? And you get this beautiful pattern. And it's even more beautiful because you can show the viewer in the middle of nowhere what the night sky is like. You can link your iPhone nowadays to telescopes. And for example, if they say, hey, that's nice, but can you zoom in? For example, in this area there seems to be something interesting. So I can do that at night. There we go. And then we can get closer. Now we take a large telescope, remotely controlled, and then we zoom in more and more and more. That's the famous Eta Carina nebula, by the way. There's no equivalent in the Northern Hemisphere. And finally, you know, of course, this is a beautiful composition that you can get. You get these incredibly beautiful details, and it very much reminds us of the fractal nature. You go on and on. We've seen this in your presentation and so on. Of the cell structure. You just go on and on, you see all these beautiful structures evolving. And so if you superimpose all that in 30 minutes, you get this rather beautiful pattern. Again, you can see the South Pole there, and you can create a lot of artistic things. That's for 60 minutes, and it gets even goes on. You can make the whole thing rotate. Now, what's the sense of making it rotate? the sense of making it rotate has a real meaning, because the sky, we have a free journey around the sun every year. And so the sky changes 4 minutes per day. And that is the movement that I'm showing here. So actually you get this huge pinwheel moving around, and that's the visual, that's a composite vision that we would have of the night sky from one day to the next, and so on. Either you're moving backwards in time, or you're moving forwards in time, okay? So this is actually a very realistic way of looking at the night sky. It's just a more visual way of enjoying it. And you can put all your images together and you get these beautiful fractal patterns. And that's what I'm really interested in, is using science as a visual art. And it becomes even more incredible, because I just tried this in Australia, when you try a new fisheye lens. The whole sphere starts becoming three-dimensional. And again, that's the whole night sky. And it becomes quite incredible. I did this in the plane quickly on the way here. You can make that whole sphere rotate. And you have this feeling now that the night sky suddenly, gets a completely new meaning. And that's the same picture, the composite that I did there just of the telescope. And that's another view, okay? So you get all these beautiful things. And this is what you can do. I did this together with a very talented sound engineer in the United States, and we did this. This is a short summary of what is possible. So the message here is, that's a small sample, but I can see, for example, in performing arts, that could go beautiful. I can even see that with, thinking of going from the micro scale all the way to the macro scale. There are incredible possibilities here, and that's what my intention, my aim is to explore these type of possibilities. In the visual arts in all kinds of different ways, includes humanity, includes science in a new way. And I think, we talked a lot about the different senses here too. We heard interesting things. I think if you put the visual, the touch, the audio, and everything together, you can get amazing things. And also, what I've shown earlier, you can actually transmit a lot of these feelings that you have in science directly through the internet nowadays to people and make it a live experience. I just wanted to show that I also do astrophotography classes, and actually, if you want to learn how I did this, I'll be giving something here, part of the astrophotography. I think it's tomorrow night and the night after. You're very welcome to join. I think it would be very interesting. Yeah, and that's it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kristen Sensi. To wrap up our Visual SG Forum, we would like to invite a very special guest artist for a live demonstration. Mr. Garip Aym graduated with a degree in traditional Turkish arts from Mimar Sinan University in Istanbul. In his work as an Hebrew artist, he has held numerous